If you have a Sagittarius rising, it basically means that the sign on the horizon the very second you were born was Sagittarius. The rising sign is one of the most important placements in your birth chart because it changes every single hour. So it's going to be super accurate for you and your life. And if you didn't already know, you should be reading all of your horoscopes for your rising sign because it literally sets up how your houses are configured. The rising sign is also the first house. So the first house is all about the self-identity. It's all about your body, your appearance, your behavior. Sagittarius risings are very positive, uplifting people. You guys are very smart, love to learn, love to communicate, love to, invigorate yourself with a new way of thinking. It is ruled by Jupiter, which kind of shows why you have that very happy-go-lucky outlook on life. But if you are a Gen Z Sagittarius rising, you were born with Pluto in your first house. Chiron was also there. Pluto is the planet of control and influence and power, and also like power struggles. So as a kid, or even, throughout your life, you might notice that your identity can kind of be a little bit troublesome, trying to figure out exactly who you are, or you might tend to have other people like influencing how you see yourself and how you act, your self-esteem as well. But that's just one extreme of like people trying to dominate power over you. The other half of that is you asserting your dominance over other people, and you definitely want to watch this and find a good balance so that you're not like allowing yourself to just be a complete doormat, but also not letting yourself stomp on other people for your betterment. Back to the first house really quick. Also, with having that Pluto Chiron conjunction in the first house, Chiron is the asteroid of wounded healing. So it's like a really bad wound, but it's also like the medicine at the same time. Sagittarius risings might have dealt with a lot of insecurity in the way that they look at some point in their life. Essentially, as you get older, developing self-confidence and, changing up your looks will really help you a lot. It'll be very healing for you. But yeah, your Jupiter placement is hugely going to influence your first house. So the sign that Jupiter is in and the house it's in, and also the aspects that it's making with other planets, aka how they talk to each other, are super important, and they contribute into your first house. Some celebrities who have Sagittarius risings are Kim Kardashian. It's really interesting to me. Every single Sagittarius rising has Gemini in the 7th house, and that the 7th house rules over marriage and relationships, and she married Kanye, who was a Gemini. Kim Kardashian has Jupiter in Virgo in her 10th house of public image, career, and reputation. Janae Aiko is a Sagittarius rising with Jupiter in her Taurus 6th house of work. Princess Diana was Sagittarius rising with Jupiter in Aquarius in her 3rd house of communication and siblings and travel. Yeah, that's just an idea for you to look at other Sagittarius rising. The 1st house is opposite the 7th house, which is all about the other. So the 1st house is the self, the 7th house is the other. The 7th house is all about your type. It's the type of people that you attract to you. It's kind of the energy that you exude whenever you're in a relationship, but really it's just your type. Having Gemini in the 7th house, you want someone who can keep up very quickly. Both Sagittarius and Gemini are mutable signs, so they're easily adapting, they're easily bored and want something new. Whether it's a platonic or romantic relationship, Geminis will be able to keep up with you. They'll be able to bounce that energy right back to you. Oh, I forgot to mention though that since Jupiter is ruling over your 1st house, Jupiter is also the planet of abundance. Good luck. Jupiter is basically a planet that spoils you. So Sagittarius risings tend to have very good luck. Your 7th house is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the planet of communication and travel. So the relationships that you tend to find yourself in tend to be very mercurial. Basically saying, you want someone who's going to teach you something, someone you can have like a very intellectual conversation with, someone who's very smart and can like match your level of intelligence. Your Mercury placement will just have a huge influence over your relationships in general. So now let's go ahead to the 2nd house. The 2nd house is the house of money that you have. It's basically your bank account. Sagittarius risings have Capricorn in their 2nd house. This means that your 2nd house is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is the planet of time, of security. Saturn slowly builds over time. Having Capricorn in your 2nd house means that you're very serious about making money and keeping it. But also having a 2nd house that's ruled by Saturn just means that not only do you gradually create wealth over time, but Saturn is also the planet of really hard lessons. So having a Saturn ruled 2nd house will kind of bring you to the point of being broke sometimes, because there are really important financial lessons that you need to learn. So opposite the second house is your 8th house. The 8th house is also a house dealing with money, and if the second house is your bank account, then the 8th house is the deposits to your bank account. 8th house rules over other people's money that you get from other people. For example, if you're a writer and you get royalties from a book that you made, it'll come in. Either way, anytime you have a transit dealing with your Cancer 8th house, it's going to deal with money for you. The 8th house also does rule over your sexuality, and it's a very hidden house. Like, not many people other than you know about it. So Sagittarius risings having Cancer in the 8th house, y'all can be some very emotional spenders. That's because Cancer is a sign that's ruled by the moon, meaning your 8th house is ruled by the moon. So if you have a mutable moon, especially, spending is going to be a very emotional thing, and you might want to regulate that over your life. Some of the things that can be very dark and uncomfortable for you, because the 8th house also rules over that, is your family. So they can have a huge influence over your spirituality, also your money. So you might deal with like family issues with not sending money, not helping out financially, or vice versa. But also your sexual connections are going to be super deep, and you definitely want to choose your sexual partners very well, because you're so sensitive in that area. Even if you're not the type of person who's always very emotional, sexually, you almost have like no choice but to be emotional. Now let's go ahead and talk about the 3rd house. The 3rd house is all about communication. It's the way that you speak. It also rules over traveling, siblings, people that you see on a day-to-day basis, like your neighbors, and contracts. So having Aquarius in the 3rd house just means that the way that you express yourself is going to be very different, and you might even come off a little weird to other people. That's what Aquarius energy is. Now, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus. So Saturn is obviously the planet of time. You know, it teaches you some lessons. So there are going to be quite a bit of lessons that you have to learn about your communication etiquette throughout your life, and you'll definitely have to change that, because you also have Uranus ruling your 3rd house, and Uranus is the planet of innovation, very quick, like random things happening to you. Opposite your 3rd house is your 9th house. The 9th house is all about spirituality. It's all about religion. It's all about, you know, your core beliefs, like what you really believe about the world. The 9th house also rules over traveling and social media to a certain extent. So Sagittarius risings have Leo in their 9th house, and any house that you have Leo in is where you shine the most. So whenever you're traveling, that is when you are in your element. You might take really cute pictures when you're out of state, out of country. Leo energy is very proud. So Sagittarius risings tend to be very proud of their beliefs, very proud of their morals. The 9th house also rules over college and academia. So Sagittarius risings might be very proud about, you know, the type of school that they went to or their education in general. And it's ruled by the sun. So whatever your sun sign is going to have a huge impact over, you know, whether you like to travel or not. Overall, Sagittarius risings tend to have very strong and proud beliefs because of this Leo in the 9th house. Now let's go ahead and talk about your childhood for a sec. The 4th house rules over home, family, private life, your childhood, and just the overall energy that you grew up in and the energy that you continue to live in every day. Sagittarius risings have Pisces in the 4th house. This can mean that you are a very optimistic child. You had very emotionally available parents. Jupiter does rule over your 4th house. Jupiter is the planet of good luck. So there's obviously going to be a lot of pleasant things in your home. But the thing about Pisces is that it's also ruled by Neptune. And Neptune, not only is it very creative, so you might have had a creative parent, but Neptune in general also confuses things. So things in your childhood might not add up, and there might be like hidden things in your childhood that you might not have realized. But Neptune also rules over addiction. So you might have had a parent who was addicted to something in your childhood, or you know, you as a child might have been addicted to something. In your private life, you tend to be very creative in general because the 4th house does rule over your private life now. The 4th house is not hidden like the 8th house and the 12th houses are, but it is a very private area. So the people who know you the best see that 4th house side of you. So definitely look at your Jupiter placement, your Neptune placement, the houses that they're in to get more information on your childhood. So opposite the 4th house, you've got the 10th house. The 10th house is the most seen area of your chart. It is literally the top. It is literally seen by everyone, everything. It is your first impression. It is that curated version of you that you show to the world. Having Virgo in the 10th house can mean that you can be a little bit anxious about your reputation, a bit anxious about your career, but also a perfectionist. Constructive criticism and criticism from other people is always going to hit you more deeply than other rising signs. Not only is Virgo always trying to make things perfect, but you know, when people don't feel like you are perfect, and if they say something, it can kind of throw you off for a loop a little bit. Now that you know the energy is there, you know how to correct the energy, which is, staying grounded. The 10th house is also how people see you. So people might see you as a perfectionist, or they might see you as someone they view as perfect. Your 10th house is also ruled by Mercury. So whatever you do for your career might be very mercurial, meaning that you might do some sort of communication, social media, for example, Kim Kardashian, the original influencer. That's all about communication. You definitely want to look to your Mercury, the house it's in, and all that jazz to get more information on your career. Either way, having a mutable sign ruling over your 10th house is really cool because you can almost adapt to whatever problems come your way as far as your reputation and as far as your career goes. So next, let's go ahead and talk about the 5th house. The 5th house is all about fun. It's all about sex, or lighthearted sex. It's not the deep like soul bonding sex of the 8th house, but it is just lighthearted sex. It's all about your flings, but also your children. So anytime there's like Aries season or like Aries transits, it's going to be a lot easier for you to like get pregnant or get someone pregnant during that time. But either way, having Aries in the 5th house means that the people that you have fun with in your relationships always are very independent. That's Aries energy, very passionate. They might even be into fitness or something like that. Just go-getter types. That's the type of people that like kind of pull you in. Now your 5th house is also ruled by Mars. And the thing about Mars is that it is referred to in astrology as a malefic planet, meaning that it can sometimes be a little bit troublesome. So you might have a tendency to argue with your romantic partners, or your romantic partners might tend to be very argumentative to you, or just very aggressive sometimes. That can be energy that you exhibit in your relationships, or that, your partners reflect back to you. You also might have Aries children, and your relationship to your children might be very different and very independent from other people, and very forward thinking. Directly opposite your 5th house is your 11th house. The 11th house is the house ruling over your long-term friends, the way that you network, and groups that you belong to. So having Libra in the 11th house means that some of your longest friends, some of your oldest friends, as you grow older, are going to be Libras. The 11th house does deal with social networking, and sorry to keep bringing up Kim Kardashian, but I just know her chart so well that it's easier to like use her as an example. But she has her sun in Libra, which is in her 11th house, and her entire career is formulated on how she networked herself, how she branded herself on social media, kind of like presented that form of perfection to the masses, because Libra is a sign that's known for also trying to achieve perfection and also known for being very pretty. Having a Venus ruled 11th house means that the groups that you tend to find yourself in are groups that you want to feel comfortable in. So for example, like a community that you belong to. For example, if you belong to the spiritual community, if you belong to the astrological community, if you belong to the One Direction fan base, that's all underneath your 11th house. And any transits there will always bring about some sort of change in your friendships, or within a community that you belong to. Next, Sagittarius risings also have a Taurus 6th house. So the 6th house is all about work, daily routine, your schedule on a day-to-day basis, places that you go on a day-to-day basis, and also your bad habits. So having a Taurus 6th house means that you can be a very hard worker and very productive throughout your day, but the downside of having a Taurus 6th house is that you can be very lazy. Taurus is a very slow moving sign. So Sagittarius risings are not the people that you want to rush around. And you also have a 6th house that's ruled by Venus, so you just want to be comfortable. The ideal situation for you is to have comfortable clothes that are still very cute, that'll help you feel more productive throughout the day. Taurus is also the sign of money. So having Taurus in the 6th house means that you can generate a lot of money by the things that you do every day, the job that you do every day. Whatever your daily routine is like, optimizing that can gain you a lot of money. So the 6th house is directly opposing your 12th house. The 12th house is a house that deals with the subconscious. It's very hidden. It's all about mental health, isolation, the things that you can't see, but also your hidden enemies. Having Scorpio in the 12th house can kind of mean that you have a little bit of power dynamics as far as like your mental situation, and it's not even something that you'll always realize you have. Also, the way that you tend to isolate yourself is whenever you're under these like huge emotional like outbursts that you feel very secretive about, because the 12th house also rules over secrets and Scorpio rules over secrets. So having that like double dipping of the secretive energy in your 12th house can kind of make you feel very isolated from other people. Now, your 12th house is also ruled by Mars and Pluto. So remember when I said that Mars is a malefic, it can bring about some troublesome situations. So look to your Mars placement for some more information on this. Your mental state is going to require a lot of care. There's a lot of transformation going on up there, whether you know it or not. And it's also ruled by Pluto. You might deal throughout your life with other people trying to control you in the way that you think. Other people might try to subconsciously control you. This is where I kind of warn you about Scorpio placements. I'm not going to say completely stay away from people who are Scorpios, but people who have placements that are in your 12th house can be secretly vindictive towards you, can be secretly jealous, can be secretly hating on you or hateful to you. And especially with your 12th house being ruled by Pluto, they can even try to control you on a subconscious level. So you really want to be careful of them. I'm not going to say never talk to any Scorpios again. Be on your P's and Q's when you're around them. And I think it's really interesting because Kim Kardashian is a Sag rising and she's dating Pete Davidson, who has, I think he's a Scorpio. And if he's not a Scorpio, he has like a Scorpio moon. He's got a lot of Scorpio in his chart. So I'm like interested to see how their relationship like plays out. But anyways, if you'd like a personal reading from me, you can get one on my website, destinyjanae.com. But otherwise, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and see y'all later.